serious mental health problem. It's far more than just feeling a little bit down. It has chemical, biological, sociological, and psychological aspects to its nature. Because of these differing aspects, the issue is difficult to treat and even more difficult to cure. Now, inside the brain are billions of connections between the neurons called synapses, like tiny gaps in the electrical wiring system of the brain. The electrochemical signal flows down the neuron until it reaches a synapse, and then it needs a neurotransmitter to bridge the gap to carry on passing the signal down the wire. Now, some of these neurotransmitters you may be familiar with and have a connection with mood and hence depression, things like serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine. If the correct levels of these neurotransmitters are not present in the brain, then the signals will either be slow to pass or they'll just not get through at all. However, the body can run into problems with these neurotransmitters. Having too little of a neurotransmitter reduces the signal, but also having too much can also have the same effect. Now, some antidepressant drugs can increase the levels of norepinephrine inside the brain, which, if the patient has low levels of these transmitters, can actually restore a more normal level of brain activity. However, if they actually have a high level of norepinephrine, taking these types of antidepressant drugs won't actually lead to any improvement in the brain activity. Of course, neurotransmitters are only part of the issue. Additionally, there are various hormones which are released in the endocrine system. These include things like cortisol, which is released by the adrenal gland as part of the fight or flight mechanism. The problem with this mechanism is also can be triggered by stresses within our normal daily lives. Whilst it might be good for running away from a predator, it really doesn't help in stressful situations. Elevated levels of cortisol can cause those areas of the body needed for physical action to be prioritized. As a result, excess cortisol also causes problems with things like learning and memory, as well as long-term issues with blood pressure and heart disease, as those areas are not prioritized, unlike the muscles. However, inside the brain is an area called the hypothalamus. This normally regulates the amount of cortisol in our system. With slightly higher amounts in our system during the day, it's more likely to be active and reduced amounts of cortisol at night when sleeping and supposedly relaxed. If the hypothalamus isn't actually functioning properly, which in the case of some forms of depression, this regulation can actually be reversed or flipped, with too little during the day and too much at night. This can result in a person having little energy to move about during the day, and also finding it difficult to rest and relax during the night. Now, there's also various social and cultural barriers existing relating to depression. Among various groups, it's actually a taboo subject. There's this macho attitude where the depressed person just needs to pull herself together and deal with it. Even admitting to any kind of mental health problems may result in them being isolated from the peer group. As a result, people often delay seeking help in a situation that can actually be made worse by the fact that depression itself may mean that the person may have difficulty getting help. This can be seen in places like Japan, where very few people admit to having mental health issues, which is probably a significant factor in the country's very high suicide rate. As I said, there isn't a single cause for depression. There can be a genetic link, a crisis event such as divorce or unemployment, pregnancy, stress, alcohol, all can be significant factors in depression. And these also can combine to make an existing depression worse. The key to resolving the problem is seeking help as early as possible. This doesn't mean that taking medication will always be the best solution. Exercise, talking to friends and family, setting small achievable goals can all be targets on the road to feeling better. Generally, however, the recovery from depression is a series of small day-to-day improvements. As you improve, you'll feel more positive, which itself will help banish some of the negativity associated with depression. As a look at depression, it's a massive subject, just a little window into the area of depression.